Threecrow. Yes, pins and needles, but I'm here. Okay, so I'm happy to see everybody in the chat. And so I'm going to be continuing today with one of my books, The Star Children Today, Magic and Phenomenon. And, you know, this is focusing on star children specifically, but I do want to emphasize, as I always do, that all children are significant, and every child, every one of us comes here with a purpose, a reason for being here. So just to get on with this, I'm on Chapter 10, and this is Chapter 10 is a reality check for parents, but I do want to say that it's in general all parents, and specifically, of course, for those who may have a star child or be a star child, or you may know one who is a star child. Okay, so here I go. Some of what is written below may surprise you. It will also help you to cultivate a better relationship with your child. Now, star-born children, or the star children, are those who have reincarnated through many lifetimes, and they hold ancient wisdom, whose source derives from the star beings and the ancestors. Our children do not belong to us. As was agreed between us, they had chosen to reincarnate through us. So that kind of like maybe puts people a little bit out, because they might say, well, I didn't choose, I'd never choose, and so on and so forth. But yes, there you go. I guess you have to deal with that, because everything has a purpose and a reason. So yes, it is said that it was an agreement between you and your people. Star children are born with a unique purpose, and some say it is to raise the conscious vibration of humanity. They are teachers as well as peacemakers. They will challenge the status quo. They are here to help us through the earth changes, and also to enter into a new dimension that fulfills the prophecy of the fifth world, 1,000 years of peace. They realize humanity will not survive if disregard for the earth and its resources continue, if war, prejudices, and hatred does not end. And their hope is that we remember, that all of us remember, that we are the caretakers of the earth, the living waters, and all of life. You had originally agreed to protect and do all in your power to help your child fulfill their purpose. Star children are wise beyond their years. They're highly intuitive, and they are psychic very often. They are seen as psychic. And remember, as I said before, a lot of what indicates a star child, there are many signs, and yet not all star children have every sign. So I just want to make sure that you know that. So they do see the lies and false beliefs that we are being subjected to, and that the majority, unfortunately, are unaware of. They often exhibit rebellious behavior against the system. They know instinctively right from wrong. They often isolate, unable to fit into society's prescribed rule, and they rebel at what is adverse to their fundamental nature. Star children are often described as old souls, and star children believe humans' origins are originally from the stars, as do many indigenous people as well. They often experience themselves as an outsider, tagged by others as weird or strange. They are aware that time is speeding up and that time is of the essence. Many of the star children are dreamers and visionaries and speak of prophecies that tell of cataclysmic events and earth changes. Based on prophecy, they have reincarnated to assist in humanity's transition. And we certainly are in a huge transition. The phenomenon of the star children is genetic, by the way. They do appear throughout generations. They are highly creative and artistic. And a high percentage of star children prefer classical music, metaphysical books, science fiction is of a great interest to them. An overwhelming number of star children have resisted popularized use of hallucinogenic drugs, preferring instead the profound and miraculous experiences to be found in nature. Negative influences and healthy solutions. Recent studies report an increase in some technologies that not only impact our daily lives, but have the potential to be addictive. There are corporate interests regarding ownership of some news media that may be seen as encouraging subjective reporting, and we could understand how fear-based reporting would not only affect ours and our children's well-being, but also our sense of security. And studies also suggest the probable effects that continuous exposure to the rapid patterning of violent video games can have upon the brain's normal function, especially that of young children, and the potential negative consequences upon the viewer's emotional state. Sadly, it seems a predisposition in this day and age for some adults to live their lives through reality TV. And the majorities of star children are psychic and clairvoyant. Also, that means they may be sensitive or even oversensitive to their environment. Most are continually receiving information being transmitted to them. Therefore, may especially be affected by certain technologies, and they would have difficulty keeping their focus as well. And I think that we are realizing more and more today how we are all being affected by technologies in many different ways, and it does affect our ability to be focused, of course, and our health. The increases, for instance, of electromagnetic waves and certain frequencies, either natural or man-made, food allergies, sugar consumption, and pesticides, just to name a few, are also stimulating factors and very well could be indicative to having difficulty focusing. Some technologies display rapid patterning and frenetic imaging, and when viewed continually overstimulating the mind. stimulation. It might be prudent, then, to eliminate TV and video games altogether. At least it is important to monitor what we and our children are being subjected to. Now, children should be treated with respect and never talked down to or made to feel ashamed. If ever a parent or a teacher demands a star child's attention, he or she might experience frustration and they would display anger. In this case, the child's perception might be that they are being distracted from information that is being transmitted to them from what to others is indistinguishable. So to teachers and parents, these children appear to be disrespectful or lacking discipline. Parents would have a healthier relationship with their children if they treated them with respect, if they listened to their viewpoint, and gave them clear and direct information, rather than long, drawn-out explanations or reprimands. For parents of a star child, it is important that they know that their child is often inundated with what is unseen, and that others do not have the same experiences. In other words, they're picking up energies all the time, and they're sometimes also downloading information, and not everyone is experiencing that. Therefore, their child may be overwhelmed with varying degrees of messages or intrusive frequencies that are emanating from the electromagnetic fields, or they may be receiving telepathic guidance that to them is urgent and even necessary. If children are subjected to an antiquated education system where there is little understanding or room for individualism, well, then they may experience unsympathetic behavior or attempts to break their spirit. And we do know that the education system is pretty much like that for all children. The authorities would endeavor to control what they believe is an unruly child and force them into submission in an attempt to crush their free will. Now, this would be detrimental to any child, but especially a star child, since they live within a system that demands conformity and that disregards their unique qualities. And I'm going to say yes, and that pretty much is across the board. All children have unique qualities, and this system that we have lived under for centuries demands conformity. Without recognition and support, they could lose sight of their original purpose even, like many of us have, or they become angry or even despairing. Eventually, they do, or possibly can, become the problem child. And again, I want to emphasize that I think this is across the board for all children, not just specifically star children. You know, if you are not recognized, you have no validation given you or any support, you know, you're going to become angry, even despairing. And we see that happening. The Watchers. The Watchers are star beings and are part of original creation and in direct communication with the Creator. They are messengers, they are guides, especially for the star children, and they have revealed the truths of human origins and the knowledge of past lives. They are alarmed at the ever-increasing fragility of the earth, and their hope is that a greater majority of humanity will awaken and realize that the choices made today will impact their children's future. Regarding future generations, it is crucial that we now become the caretakers of the sacred sites, the forests, the seeds, and the waters, and that we all dedicate ourselves to protecting all that would be necessary for the survival of civilization and the earth. It is important to note the significant traits of star children in order to better understand them. Now, the majority are adept in the psychic and healing arts, and some will become light workers. And I use that term because it's like working with the frequency of light. I guess you could say it's compassion and love, it's the healing arts, and along those lines. Most have an uncanny ability to find alternative solutions, to see seemingly unsolvable problems. Maybe some of you have this trait. Star children are born with profound wisdom and often will rely on their natural instincts, and frequently they receive channeled guidance, where others might intellectualize a problem or rely upon standard scientific methods. And parents' acceptance of these phenomenon is essential to the star child's development. You know, you might hear me always kind of like saying to people, this is not an intellectualizing process. This is not about intellect. This is about your sensory intuitiveness, your sensory gifts. So this is why I usually say that. Okay, I'm on to chapter 11 now. This is called The Authoritarians, Religion, and Education. There are individuals with political power and others by way of corporate interests who remain habituated to manifest destiny, which was a policy as characterized by European history in the Americas. This principle was believed to be the word of God and an endorsement of humans' dominion over nature. Today, without knowledge of future consequences, we witness its continuing influence. Manifest destiny has had an unfortunate impact upon indigenous tribes who were perceived as obstructing an agenda to literally rape the Earth's resources. A great majority had been prevented their upholding their ancestors' teachings that they respect and care for the Earth. We are increasingly pressured through various media and society's demands to achieve what is deemed as acceptable. Now, we must always be vigilant to specific influences that enter into the primary education system and those that support corporate ideologies. There is a possibility that our children are being influenced to follow the principles of manifest destiny. Now, I wrote this book quite a while ago, and I think that I'm going to say that this is exactly what's happening. And that means emphasis is placed on personal financial gain and that disregard society. You know, our children's future depends on their learning moral principles, especially those that teach responsibility for the Earth's natural resources. History has revealed the strong influences that religious dogma can have upon our beliefs. In particular, the declaration that we are born with original sin. This conviction clearly contradicts any assurance that we are all sacred children and is indifferent to the messages the star children wish to convey. So it is most likely that the grandparents of today's star children had been subjected to similar information, not only regarding original sin, but also our human history and human origins. In other words, there may have always been those who remain naive to this corruption, especially regarding corporate interests, and particularly those whose financial power is often used to influence government policies. There are privately owned news media that are predisposed to control certain information, and this can create confusion and even fear. And yes, today we know that. We talk about that all the time. So the public is left to either accept biased reporting or take the initiative to search for information from unbiased sources. And that is why we say you have to go down those rabbit holes if you want to find the truth. There very well may be a prevailing scheme, one that continues to support the principle of manifest destiny, and that it is in opposition to the messages from the star children and from our ancestors. So, I hadn't read this book in a while, and the term manifest destiny really comes to really strongly here right now. Because as I said, the European history, as was a wave that came up here on Turtle Island and many places in the Americas, the manifest destiny was the principle believed to be the word of God and an endorsement of humans' dominion over nature. So that this is where we seem to be today, is this manifest destiny is still working its way. Building trust, listen, validate, and cherish. Star children will need their parents' support to survive this system that is unfavorable to them. They will need effective tools that will help them later in life to survive society's unrealistic demands, political agendas, and media brainwashing. So parents will need patience, and they have to create a safe environment for their child to express their own ideas and then to guide them in understanding the differences between theirs and others' beliefs. So this will assist their child how to effectively cope with society's disparities. And I think this is good advice for all parents. Supportive methods and some coping tools. So what do we need to do to help our children, whether they're a star child or not? As I said, all children are special. Nurture your child's unique spirit. Teach flexibility and set healthy boundaries with love. Remain open to and accepting of their unique perspectives. Discipline with dignity. This provides logical and realistic consequences and addresses ownership of behavior. Discipline with dignity. I like that. Rather than shaming and violence, right? A child is better able to be resourceful and problem solve responsibly when treated with respect. Consideration of children upholds their self-esteem and does empower them to speak their truth and to discern right from wrong. Allowing mistakes without anger or ridicule helps young people to feel secure and learn how to problem solve. Focusing on mistakes as negative or as failing is not helpful and not supportive. Fear of making mistakes will not help your child to effectively meet life's challenges. I know a lot of people have this imprint that they better not make a mistake because making a mistake is a failure. And you can't fail, heaven forbid you fail at anything. And so that causes shame and so on. But how are we going to learn if we don't make mistakes? So it's helpful to give your child that information, that it's all right to make mistakes, but let's learn from those mistakes. It is important that parents help their child to understand or understand outside influences, such as the attitudes and beliefs of others, negativity and disharmony that can affect your own feelings, and varying degrees of electromagnetic frequencies that are a concern in today's world, and how these can possibly impact our lives. Because star children are especially sensitive to these. It would benefit them to have a mentor, someone who could guide them how to not be affected by these intrusive energies, and to learn protective methods and the benefits of grounding, or what now people are calling earthing, was how to connect yourself to the earth, and how to be centered during challenging or even threatening situations. In other words, being centered, then you're not reacting and you're not off the charts. Being centered, I guess I would say it's holding your own power and not being reactive or being triggered by people's behavior. Star children may appear to be hyperactive, but consider that they are constantly receiving information and or guidance, and this could very well be the cause for a distraction. Children may normally rebel against a biased and rigid education system and may appear to others as troublemakers or even disruptive. The star child's comprehension is unique, and most are right-brained and learn differently than others. I think that's very important information, because those who are right-brained rather than left-brained do learn differently. And if you're in a system that insists that you have to learn a certain way, well, you can very well wind up being lost and not know what is going on, and therefore even called stupid. I'm just saying. Yes, my sister Patty, you're right. Your grandchildren, they have to live in a world where society wants them to be nothing more than gray shadows and do not respect individuality or self-expression. Yep, this is one of the most harmful aspects of our society. That is so true. I mean, we all dealt with that, didn't we? And our grandchildren and children are still dealing with it. So, highly sensitive to their environment, the star child often finds that it is difficult to sit still. But you know, I think it's difficult for any child to sit still. You know, you get put in school and you have to sit there for hours. You can't move, you can't talk, you can't get up, you can't stretch, you can't do nothing practically. So yes, you cannot sit still. So they are deeply concerned about the disregard for Earth's resources, and they are aware of the dire consequences and the effects upon future generations. Some will isolate themselves, finding that more suitable. A majority are overachievers, at times becoming frustrated with others who are not motivated or not willing to make changes that would be beneficial. Now, I know some of us here on People for People get that way too. You know, I'm not saying we're all star children, but we do get frustrated at those others who are not motivated or willing to make changes. So they do know, often unable to explain how they know, but they know, without any doubt, what others are unaware of and are unable even to comprehend. You know, when you have that feeling inside yourself that you know, I just know, it's a feeling, it's not like in your mind, it's a feeling. And somebody says, well, how do you know? Say, well, I just know. That's, how do you explain it? Well, you know, like a little fairy told me or a little voice told me. Yeah, that would really, people would really respond to that. And star children are visionaries. They often receive prophetic dreams. They often choose a difficult path in life in order to advance spiritually. And I think we're all on that path. This is not an easy path we're all showed up for here in this timeline, right? I mean, we are all on a difficult path. Well, you could say, well, it's just a lousy path. Or you could say, yeah, I did this to advance myself spiritually, or just to advance. I don't know. It's your choice, I guess you could say, but specifically it is noted that star children do say this. So their lives will be challenging, and their purpose would be significant. They are the messengers, and we often say, don't kill the messenger. Like, you know, sometimes some of us here are messengers on People for People. I guess you all are messengers, because I see everybody here on People for People, which is really wonderful, has a lot to share. And you all have a message, you know. And so sometimes we get cranky at each other, and yeah, I know that, but I'm just saying we all have a message. And I want to say we are all teachers for each other too. So, the star children will often push you or challenge others in order to awaken them. Well, I don't know, has anybody here done that? We push people or challenge people because we want to shake them. We want to just shake them. Come on, wake up. I'm just saying. Even though they are advanced, some star children may choose to not apply themselves. Their frustrations may cause them to rebel and even to retreat. And I encountered a star child like that in the school I used to go to. He was in, I guess he was in the 9th grade. And that boy was failing, and he was a troublemaker. He was a problem kid, you know. And the teacher had her eye on him and said she was going to fail him. And I saw right away that this was a star child. I just knew it, I felt it, I sensed it, and that was that. So I kind of paid extra attention to him and as I was speaking to the class, and I kept walking over by him and kind of, speaking directly to him, and he would get really annoyed, like his attitude was like, get away from me, that kind of like surly attitude. He had his arms crossed and he'd jerk away from me if I was talking to him. He was like really, really angry, and I just kept doing it because I felt that boy had something very special, and I saw, yes, that he was falling through the cracks. So anyway, I just kept doing that, and when I left that day, the teacher had said to me, I asked her about him, and she said, he's a problem, and he's probably going to get failed. She said, I'm probably going to fail him. Okay, so anyway, I went home, and during the week I received letters from every student, which the teacher had them do. Just write a thank you note for my coming to the class, right? I would go there and I'd talk about the Indian way, I'd talk about the turtle rattle, I'd talk about various things along those lines. And I received a little letter from him, and he said to me, why were you picking on me? Okay? So this was a wonderful opportunity. It was exactly what I was hoping, that he would open the door for a dialogue. And I wrote him a letter, and I said, I was not picking on you. I said, in our way, in our traditional way, when we see a child who has special gifts, we really pay attention to them. We want to be near them. We talk to them. We help them. We guide them because they are special children, and I saw that in you. So I wasn't picking on you. I just know you have something really special. And that's all I said. And I guess it was months later, the teacher wrote to me. She said, I don't know what you did to that boy, she said, but he's like a different child. He's doing great in school. He's no longer stomping around furious and angry, and I'm going to pass him, and he's doing great. You see, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. You have to say, okay, why is this child falling through the cracks? Why is this child angry? And that teacher, she didn't have that ability to do that. She just was going to fail him. That's it, because he was a problem. But what was happening to that boy? Nobody was helping him. No one was validating him. I validated him. I told him he was special. That's what I do. So you can help your child also by sharing the beauty of nature. Experience it together, the wonder and the magic and the Mother Earth's energy that is healing. Talk to them about that. My grandchildren feel that stuff. We talk about it all the time. We'll sit out quietly and I'll tell them, listen to the night singers. I told my granddaughter the other night, we were sitting outside, and the night singers, the crickets, the bell ringers, the katydids, it's so extraordinary now. And I said to her, do you hear them? And she said, oh yeah, it's really beautiful, really loud. So I said, well, close your eyes. Close your eyes for a minute and listen. So she closed her eyes, and she was listening. I didn't even ask her what the difference was, and she said, it's louder. It's louder when I close my eyes. I said, yes, it is. So we talked about, when you close your eyes, your mind isn't busy. All you're doing is you're listening with your ears, and everything is accelerated. You can hear better. So do this with your children. Nature is where we experience the peace that is always present and that heals us, yeah? So I'm on chapter 12 and the miraculous gift. So, what is this miraculous gift? Children are especially influenced by TV, commercials, video games, movies, and movie stars, rock stars, and the media in general. And this can prescribe a distorted view of the real world. Some parents may either be ignorant of these influences or unconcerned, and they may have experienced a similar assault upon their own senses, and they have become numb What is encouraging is that there are a greater percentage of parents who are recognizing their children as inherently creative and as unique individuals, free thinkers, and they are beginning to take responsibility to actually monitor these outside influences. And to further understand how the media and some new technologies might influence our thinking, it would be important to consider a direct correlation of these systems as possibly reliant upon a predestined method, especially regarding current mainstream developments as a possible means to controlling the greater population. Clearly, there are some technologies that are becoming more intrusive and also certain methods of education that are contradictory to the original aspects and fundamental nature that we are born with. Will these influences continue unabated and unrecognized? And how will they affect our future and that of the earth? Children are inherently aware of their sacredness, and prior to being subjected to the archaic education system, they instinctively are aware of their purpose and the significance of humans' relationship to all creation. Though it will be quickly realized that this perspective is mostly absent in society, and it is certain that a sensitive child will be severely challenged. There are a great majority of children who learn very little about the essential things in life, or what is necessary for their well-being and peace of mind. Society is becoming increasingly desensitized as the improper and overuse of current computer technologies, excessive viewing of TV, video games, accelerates. Now, children especially are at risk. For attention deficit disorder, now I think a lot of you are familiar with what that is, and it does say that children in today's world are especially at risk. And we do see this attention deficit disorder, or ADD, ADHD, which is now regarded as an epidemic. And as I say, this book was written many years ago. There are far too many people consumed by fear and overwhelmed by credit card debt and who seek relief through these technologies. The indigenous perspective that all humans were to uphold the blueprint of a superior intelligence and held accountable for preserving the Earth's resources for the upcoming generations has been disregarded by the power elite. The Star Children remind us that our ancestors were the caretakers of the Earth. What would awaken an insensitive population? That's a big question and a good one. What would awaken an insensitive population? What might provide inner peace and healing? And I say, spending time in the natural world, sitting upon the Mother Earth. This will begin the changes necessary to awaken your fundamental nature. Walking into the silent depth of a forest or sitting with the living waters will renew your spirit. Only when the miracle of creation is fully comprehended and our spirits are healed, then we will realize that this precious gift is worth defending. How we doing out there? Everybody, I hope you're enjoying this so far. I'm just reached chapter 13. And I'm going to talk about systematic brainwashing. You know that. One of my favorite topics. Yes. Systematic brainwashing. I think we have all been subject to that, as well as our parents and our grandparents, and this probably goes way back. So, we know now that we all have suffered this, and today our children are at a greater risk of developing ADD, attention deficit disorder, if exposed to incessant watching of TV before age 4. Now that's the studies that were done about this? How susceptible children are before age 4. So they'd be susceptible to damaging input as well as positive. Up to age 4 is really a vital time for these children. In fact, recent studies have suggested that core symptoms of ADD and ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactive disorder, may actually be linked to TV and the hyperstimulation of violence and war that is prevalent in most games. So when observed continually, what happens? So you have a child observing continually, while the rapid patterning and fast-paced display of images has a greater impact upon the brain's normal function. I found this very fascinating, basically for us to understand what exactly is happening to the child's brain. So pretty much you have the rapid patterning and fast-paced displays are impacting the brain's normal function. So this would condition the mind to not only expect this frenetic input, but actually to hunger for more stimulation. So that's where your addiction comes. We are naturally influenced by our environment, especially if continuously subjected to biased information. If we are not careful, what is observed could very well determine our beliefs and our comprehension of the world, and that's the whole idea. There are all manner of ideologies that advise specific lifestyles, and these are gauged as acceptable accordingly. So these demands are that we achieve, that we become what society deems as appropriate, and in fact, these requirements are quite prevalent beginning in early childhood. So the star children are effectively adverse to these types of brainwashing programs and their constant intrusion. So they would rebel against a system that is detrimental to their fundamental nature, their sacredness, and what would prevent them from fulfilling their purpose. Now, there are parents and educators today who are very concerned with the apparent increase in children's inability to focus. That's what they call it, right? I find it very interesting that teachers and parents are getting more and more concerned about their children's inability to focus. And my question is, could this behavior be due to overstimulation? Some studies indicate that our children's brains are reactive to the extremes of certain technologies. So are these children especially mesmerized, and might their brains be signaling for further motivations and continually being distracted? So we might deduce how video games as a stimulant would become addictive and act similar to a brainwashing. So when children and even some adults are subjected to the challenges of video war games, cyber attacks, and bombs exploding, well, their brain's endorphins would attain high levels of stimulation. This is what's going on in the brain. This is intensified patterning. It acts as a stimulant and is said to cause the viewer to experience an addictive physical and emotional high. So are these games geared specifically for this effect? I'm just throwing that question out. We realize how overstimulation does reflect in the behavior of our children, causing some to become restless and unable to focus, even displaying unruly behavior. You know, we know surely now that sugar is one of those stimulants. But now we're talking about the brain, okay, the brainwashing, so the result of which in some cases has led to children of a very young age to be diagnosed with ADD and ADHD. This is a solution meant to appease a system that requires that children are to be managed with drugs. And I have to repeat that again. So, young age to be diagnosed with ADD and ADHD, which is a solution meant to appease the system that requires that children are to be managed with drugs. And so I'm going to, in the chapter 20 that I will get to, I'm only on 13, but there's more information on ADD and ADHD called chronic reversed polarity. And this was one of those rabbit holes I went down, and it just was so amazing to find out about chronic reverse polarity and what's going on with a major amount of people, of us actually. So overstimulated children do not have time or even a desire to read a book, do they? Or to walk in the woods, do they? Nor are they encouraged to sit quietly, even to observe or to reflect. If the brain is denied the constant stimulation of these stimulations, its desire for more stimulus causes a child to become agitated, right? It's like if you're an addict, alcohol, drug, or whatever, you start to become agitated. Well, this is what's happening to these little children who are being diagnosed with ADD and ADHD. They are agitated. They will become unruly and compulsive, not realizing the effects of this type of overstimulation and the repercussions could lead to anger and dissatisfaction. A child would continue to act out frustration, unable to concentrate or to listen. Instead, they would constantly be searching for something that would satisfy their addiction. Unfortunately, nothing will satisfy this hunger except more of the same. And in some cases, this may lead to an even more severe type of behavior. So we know that children are being constantly subjected to violence, wars, murders. Could this perpetuate classic dissociation from reality? I'm throwing that question out to you. What do you think? Classic dissociation from reality. How many people do we know are in that category? So even some parents are not recognizing the alarming increase of violence their children are being subjected to, not only with video games, but the increases in actual violence against humanity, yes, and the earth. These are definite concerns that need to be addressed. When and if natural disasters or actual war does occur, will they even notice? Will they even care? Or will the degree that these children are being numbed continue to keep them detached? And I kind of think that might be the plan, to keep us all detached. Well, every day we see accelerating violence and awful stuff people are doing, and it's almost like, yeah, here it is again. Oh, yeah, there it is again. Oh, yeah. So I guess that's sort of like being detached, disconnected. Their perceptions regarding reality may reflect the video game they constantly engage in. And to them, real-life situations may not actually appear authentic. Yes, but just another action game. Right. So I guess their discernment tool is down the drain. So this could lead to difficulty in their ability to comprehend reality, even to identify with and feel empathy for others. Yeah, I'm thinking about, where is the empathy? It seems to have gone down the drain as well. I'm just saying, I saw this really horrible picture, a photograph today. This was a painting in a gallery window somewhere. I don't know where it was. It doesn't matter. This was in the window, displayed fully for everyone walking down the street to see this picture, a painting. Okay, it doesn't matter who it was, but in a way it does. So the painting was of a person who happens to be our president, the president of the United States. But some big hand, has his hair pulled back and a blade, a knife across his throat. and blood was gushing out in this painting. Now, I don't care whether you like Trump or not. I don't care who it is. I don't care what your politics are. I'm not a political person. To me, this is horrific, this type of violence. And then people, how do people react to it? Well, some people laugh. Some people say yay or good or F this person. And that was, by the way, written across the painting. That's not the point, who it was. The point is that it was. The point is somebody painted a painting like that and put it in a window. I don't care who the painting was of. I'm just saying. So, where's the empathy? What's going on here? So I'm just wondering, and I just question where we are headed. Just saying. I'm on... Oh my goodness. It's... I have like 7 minutes. Any questions out there? Yes, Laz, chronic reverse polarity is very, very interesting. And a lot of us may even have chronic reverse polarity thinking that it's something else. Yes, Tracy, it was shocking. It was disgusting and shocking, and as I said, I don't care who the person was in the painting or depicted in the painting. It was just that in a gallery. Just, yeah, to me it's shocking. And I think we should all be concerned at the level of violence that we are seeing escalating, the level of hate. You know, this disunity, this separation just continues. And how are we going to get anywhere if we can't come into unity and start making the changes that are necessary to work together? You know, this is how I feel. Yep. That's right. Yes, it doesn't matter who is depicted. It could have been Pelosi. I mean, I'm just saying. It could have been Biden. To me, it would still be awful, vile. It's the politics, yes. That's what's going on. So, yes. Tracy says we were told not to take pictures, like photographs. Yes, it doesn't surprise me. So many have lost their souls. Oh my gosh, you just brought up an amazing point, Tracy. Everybody's taking selfies. Selfies, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a very powerful belief, that losing your soul, the picture, the photograph. And now everybody's taking selfies of themselves. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yep. So I'm just gonna, this next chapter is going to be chapter 14. It's about spiritual consciousness, and it's also about near-death experience and other phenomenon. And I will get to that next week, because I don't really want to get into it right now, because I only have like several minutes. Yes, every elder society said don't do that. Absolutely. So true. I believe that too. So I wonder how many of you out there have had a near-death experience. Yeah, exactly, Laz. Yep. Well, you make yourself vulnerable to other people's, let's say, the attention you get from other people might not be so kind either, right? Like people have negative ideas or negative attitudes toward you. I mean, they just might make fun of you the way you look, but these are energies. We're talking about frequencies and energies, right, Tracy? Yeah. Yep, freaked out. I get it. So yeah, whoever uses that info, that's for sure. It's sort of like everybody's so vulnerable, made themselves vulnerable. On Facebook, I see people putting up photographs of themselves, of their babies, of the, Yeah, I'm staying focused. Good, because I'm not going to read anymore, because I only have a few minutes left here. But my question is, have any of you out there had a near-death experience? I think some of you have. That means, like, You could have a non-traumatic near-death experience or a traumatic near-death experience, which means that you nearly died, or the doctor said you died and then they brought you back to life, Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Stefan, yeah. I know, Stefan, you have, for sure. You shared that, yeah. Yep, the Selfie Society are creepy. That's so true. Well, they've pushed us into that stuff, right? They have really manipulated people's behaviors, haven't they? And now our young people, the generations of young people, are hooked, addicted, and chained to that. And there you go. Where are they going to be? They're not outside. They're not out on the mother, are they? So I'm thinking coming up after me is usually Stone. I don't see her here in chat. Hey, Steph. Yes, Stone is coming up next. So, Angeline, it's so good to see you. And Darby, Laz, Neo, my brother, my sister, Regis. Yes, Stefan, the myth of unity. I like that. Yeah, Tracy, another sister here, Troy, and Uj. Did I miss anybody? Because it's really nice to see everybody here. I think I did. I'm looking at you, scrolling down here. Oh, Van. V. Yes. Okay, so there you are, Stone. Welcome, and you're coming up next. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. About next week, I'll be reading about spiritual consciousness, near-death experience, and lots of other phenomenon. So tune in, and thank you for being here with me today. Doksha.
topic. So
Hey, everybody.
I think we must...
It's good to see you all out there on peopleforpeople.ning.com and wherever else you are out there in this cosmos or on the Turtle Island, the Great Mother. It's me, Barbara Threecrow. I'm here. I'm happy to be here. It's a beautiful day. We are having our Indian summer, which is really spectacular. You know, the leaves are starting to change, and the nights are chilly, the days are gorgeous. Can't get any better than that. I'm really enjoying it. And thank you. You can hear me loud and clear. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. Neo, my sister, and Rob. Hey, Stone, and Tracy. Troy. Good. Good to see you all. Well, I'm back to continue reading from one of my books, The Star Children Today, and Magic and Phenomenon. And for those of you who've been sticking with me from the beginning, thank you for that. And again, I'd like to emphasize that this is a particular writings about star children, or some people have, I guess they started calling them crystal children or rainbow children, but it's really all the same, meaning that there has been clear identification of newborns at certain times that are unique, or let's say seemingly more advanced or beyond their years, or let's say, I mean, I remember, you know, growing up in the late 40s and 50s and even 60s and seeing, you know, when an infant was born, you know, they like lay there, you know, almost comatose without any engagement, you know. They had this funny look on their face or their eyes, like, where am I? Where am I, kind of thing. And then the differences that people started to notice in infants, and even pediatricians. I guess I'm going to say now, well, I wrote this book quite a while ago, so during that period of time, even pediatricians were noting that the newborns, or certain newborns, were like advanced. They were engaging you, like almost immediately, things like that. So people started to notice that, yes, even in the 50s and 40s. That's true. Well, there's different, let me say there are different timelines, I have realized, where the so-called star children or wise ones, let's say wise ones returned. And through different periods of time. So anyway, I'm going to continue today reading to you. I'm on chapter 14. And this, I want to say that, again, all children born are unique, significant, and special. And they all have a purpose. We all have a purpose. Why are we here? We're all trying to figure that out. And the star children have specific qualities, and that's why I wrote this book. Because some people may not realize that their own child or grandchildren, or even themselves, may fit into this, you know, category, or this phenomenon, if you want to call it that. I will get into some of the characteristics also coming up in a couple of chapters here. The character traits of the star children, that's chapter 15. That will be coming up shortly. But let me start here with spiritual consciousness. This is chapter 14. A soul is exemplary of that which is uncorrupted and is identified as sacred. The soul is an aspect of an omniscient, omnipresent being. To manifest spiritual enlightenment and to fulfill its purpose, and also meet the necessary challenges that are needed to realize its original agreement, the soul often reincarnates. It is said that star children are embodied with old souls, and often they radiate profound wisdom beyond their years. Their return is significant, as is their message regarding the changes that we are experiencing, and also humanity's transition as something imminent. They are here to teach us what is necessary to help us to achieve enlightenment or to advance so that we can fulfill our own soul's original agreement. And I guess that might be the answer to the question of why am I here? If you don't sense or believe or feel that there is a soul or spirit embodied within you, well, this is a far reach for you then, that you may have an original agreement, that you may have signed a paper. But why I'm coming here, what I'm going to do, what would be important to do, why am I here? So this awakening will bring a realization that we and all others are the sacred children of the earth, and what is most essential is that we live our lives accordingly. In fact, it is decisive that we prioritize spiritual consciousness as a key element if we are to realize enlightenment and also, yes, to preserve this earth, our home. A spiritual life is based on a heart-centered foundation and encompasses unconditional love and forgiveness, for instance. By living spiritually and walking in a sacred manner, we are fulfilling the soul's purpose. We can better establish living spiritually by the experimental observation of nature, by listening and by fully engaging with the natural world. This, in other words, this will help us to reconnect to our spiritual foundation. So here is where the miraculous gift of renewal and healing is also received in nature. When in prayerful relationship with Creator's gifts, we realize that all of life and all of nature is alive and filled with sentient beings. And this is the way often we have spoken about in the way of the Indian people. Their belief was that there are sentient beings in all of creation. And I guess you'd have to say, well, how many of you might realize that or have even had an experience like that? This new consciousness would include a sincere responsiveness then, and also a communication with something greater, a divine presence, a creator, or great spirit. The star beings tell us that having faith is as vital as our living spiritually. When we determine and trust that what is embodied within us is an element of the Creator, and that we all are created from this divine source or frequency, we will experience ourselves then and all others as sacred. Near-death experience and other phenomenon. The sacred school is most often experienced early in childhood, and is where a star child, for instance, receives guidance and discovers the mysteries of the universe, the human origins, and his or her purpose. During dream time, one may experience a sense that they are flying and soaring through the cosmos. This phenomenon often occurs immediately after hearing a voice call your name, as if to say, "Wake up, come, we have something to show you." Star children converse with tree spirits and other entities of the light, and might describe their experiences as being filled with a profound sense of oneness with all of life. The ecstatic journey, or the near-death experience, describes our being taken into the light, where one may experience the divine presence of the Creator. This profound event occurs due to some type of tragic incident, such as a drowning or when a person is struck by lightning, and then they are revived and brought back to life. There are those who have experienced the light with a non-traumatic near-death experience. And what that is meaning non-traumatic, meaning that, yes, you could be walking down the driving a car, and suddenly you're out of your body, and you're having a whole other experience. Your physical self continues to function on the earth, but you are somewhere else. What does you mean? Well, your consciousness, your awareness is somewhere else, and it happens to be in this brilliant, most extraordinary light. And I had that experience. It happened while I was driving home, when suddenly and without warning, I was out of my body and into that brilliant light. Now, I was consciously aware that I was filled with a profoundly beautiful and loving sensation. It was really extraordinary, of course, and I've thought of this over the years. I've also spoken about it here on the radio and shared that with you. So reflecting upon this over many years, I realized that, I guess the question is, well, how could you be driving the car safely and be out of your body and in this other experience? Yeah, that's a very important question. I don't have the answer, except that my awareness, my conscious awareness, was not in the physical body, but it still functioned, okay? And I've talked to other people who have a similar experience. So, and they say, there are out-of-body journeys that people take and so on. Some people practice this, lying in bed or whatever, and then you send yourself out somewhere else, and your whole conscious awareness is where you are going, not your physical body. So that's quite fascinating, actually, to be able to have this experience. So my awareness, my conscious awareness, maybe you want to say, maybe it was my spirit. Maybe I am spirit. Of course, I'm not just including myself in that. Maybe we are all that spirit, that conscious being. And I went back to that light just to have that wake up, I guess, or recall. It was a recall because I felt like I had been there before, actually. Which is quite fascinating. So, while I was in that experience, again, people talk about the near-death experience as we have no words for this experience. Pretty much we can say it was profound. It was extraordinary. It was unbelievable. It was, we use all these expletives, but they don't really describe what a person does really experience, because unless you've had the experience, you don't know what I'm talking about. And we could say that the most profound love you've ever experienced, well, again, that doesn't tell you anything, because here in the physical world, we do experience love. We experience being loved and loving others, but it's nothing like what is happening in that other place. So anyway, after I was lifted out of my body and I'm in this experience, then I hear the words, "You must return now." But, in that moment when I knew that I was going to come back to my body and be here on this earth, and I had 2 children then, 2 sons, the other interesting thing is that while I was in the light, in that conscious awareness, there was no connection to earth. There was no connection at all to anything of earth, like the physical things we experience, and even the emotional things we experience. That was completely gone. That was like it never existed. In other words, fear or revenge or doubt or guilt or hope or none of those things was in that experience. Just love, just profound joy. That's all. That was it. So I was overcome, of course, with a terrible dread, really, and I was resisting. I did not want to come back here. So I had not wanted to return to the living, or to what I must have known was to come. And what was to come? Well, here we are. In the moment when I was rapidly moving back toward my physical self, I heard a most tender voice say to me, "No matter what, everything will be all right." And then I re-entered my physical body like just like the door opened and boom, there I was. And I was driving the car, and tears were rolling down my face, and I continued to drive the car for a little bit and stopped the car at the house, and my sons ran out of the car. They had no idea what was going on with me. And it was in that moment that I realized, but by some miraculous power, that I had continued driving the car. I turned into my driveway and I turned off the car as tears streamed down my face. I know of no other way to explain what happened to me other than I had somehow been taken into the presence of God, Creator, Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it, brilliance, light, omniscience, divine frequency, all those words that we have. And there I received this miraculous gift of knowing actually what happens upon death. And I believe that, because, I was out of the body. My awareness, my consciousness was completely in another experience with no thought, attachment, memory, pulling, connectedness, nothing to earth, nothing to my life. Nothing didn't exist. Was a void. Nothing. Absence. Nada. Yeah. So it came to me as if words were clearly spoken, that with death of our physical body, our soul remains conscious, or our spirit remains conscious. Our immediate awareness as we return to the pure light and love of Creator, or that frequency, is of bliss. It's a divine, joyous frequency. At last, we will be free of earthly concerns, of the past and of the future, and void of all ego, free of all fear and guilt, self-doubt, and all sad memories, whatever you're experiencing here. I guess kind of like we could say then, none of this matters. Right? Could we say that then? If we can stretch our mind to this, what I'm saying, that in the end, nothing matters. All that we're dealing with here, all that we're stuck with, all that we're screaming about, all that we're ranting about, all that we're sorry about, all that we're guilty about, all that we're struggling with. Okay, it's a time here. We're here for that time. It's significant. Of course, I don't think we'd be here if it weren't significant, but in the end, does it matter? I don't know. So the Sacred School teaches the star children how to develop compassionate relationships with creation and with all of life, and guides them in ways to also defend the earth. Psychic gifts are heightened, as are their skills of communication with elemental spirits and nature beings, and they learn to see without looking. It is through the absolute assimilation with our environment that allows one to truly see. And you can all do this. You can see what is really there all around us without really looking. You can see without looking. As a matter of fact, the only way you can see the divine mystery or creation as that mystery is without looking. In other words, because when we look, our mind tells us, oh, you're looking at a tree. Oh, you're looking at that. Oh, you're looking at that. But we don't really see the beauty, the sacredness, the divine frequency, the sacred web. But you can. Now the way is by merging and becoming one with our subject. We are able to observe the mysterious reality that is hidden from sight. This would be comparable to achieving a shamanic state, you might say. And as our assimilation is adapted correctly, our ability to visually witness the great mystery is expanded, and we have complete access beyond what is observed and what is initially believed to be accurate. Achieving a state of this, or a shamanic state or advanced state, can be accomplished through varying methods. And And one necessary tool is to become adept at separating from your ego and to achieve a state of tranquility through meditation. Another method is to use the calming breaths and developing methods of deep concentration, and this will maintain your precise and focused intention. To see without looking is to actually become proficient in merging completely with our subject, like a tree. In this case, it is nature and the elemental world. Now, one must learn to be alert to the hidden communications that emanate from what we believe are common sounds of nature. For instance, the songs and languages of birds and other creatures. When we remove ourselves from the physical boundaries and our limited thinking, our awareness is energetically extended far beyond perceived limitations, and the mystery unfolds before our very eyes. The star children are guided to develop these natural instincts, and they learn to not only communicate with the unseen, but to understand the true nature of our relationship to Creator and the living, vital Earth. By prioritizing spiritual consciousness, we nurture our soul. By deepening our love of the Creator, we are assured that we are not alone and that we are being guided to find our way to inner peace. Now, without realizing this, we can become separated from our fundamental nature, and, we can grow complacent, can't we? Even ignoring the increasing assaults upon our own spirit and, yes, the Mother Earth. By our deepening our love and our gratitude, we are better able then to revere all of life, and we come to know ourselves and others as sacred. The Earth people and indigenous nations have always maintained a level of spiritual consciousness, spiritual awareness. Consequently, they experience a profound reverence for all of life and an understanding that within all of creation, a living spirit is in attendance. I think it makes a difference if you practice, or if you are determined, or your focus would be to create that relationship. We are the only ones that can make a relationship, or create a relationship with the spiritual realm, with what is sacred, or the omniscience in nature, the sentient beings. And once you have an experience like that, it changes your whole perspective, your whole life, really. So it was during the emergence of religious doctrines throughout Europe that the lives of the common people and the indigenous earthways were severely affected. Specifically, the reverence many had for the earth. And over time, their beliefs were challenged, including their ability to uphold seasonal celebrations at sacred sites. These oppressive doctrines eventually became standard throughout the world, and those who had revered the earth were deemed a threat, their ceremonies a sacrilege against the church, and many struggled to maintain their ancestors' sacred practices. Will we become compliant as happened in the past? Will we silently consent and without protest allow the influences of modern technology to control us, to separate us from our spiritual selves? Will we become detached and ignore our true nature? Will we deny that which is essential and most sacred, the miracle of the living essence that exists all around us? There are those who are greatly influenced and reliant upon others, and there are those who seek answers through a steady stream of consumer goods, gigantic homes, faster cars. The star beings know this behavior has manifested a great sadness, and not only into the heart of the Mother Earth, but our own hearts as well, and certainly that of our children. As the separation from our fundamental nature and that which links us with all of creation becomes amplified. So, I've had the experience where people are expressing a great sorrow. Like they're feeling confused, they're feeling lost, they're feeling sad, depressed, and they don't know why. They don't know why. Why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening to me? People express that all the time. I feel lonely, or I feel lost, I feel sad. Whatever it is, they express. They're missing something. They're missing something for sure. And so what's happening is, I feel, is they're missing their connectedness to their true self, the spirit within them, the wisdom and the knowledge. I guess I'd call it the fundamental nature of self. That we are not alone, that we are in relationship and connected to everything. But we feel lonely because we don't realize that we are one with everything. And we don't realize who we really truly are. And also we have been told how to fix that by consuming stuff, or run to this guru, or run to that guru, or read this book, and none of that will solve this. None of that outside stuff will fill you with the inner peace and connect you to your original essence and your source. So I think a lot of people are feeling that yearning, that longing, and so they try to fulfill the longing, and they try to fulfill the yearning by, running around consuming things, or even becoming addicted to stuff. They're trying to fill themselves with something. That's just my perception, I was certainly there. I think we all start off, I guess, on the wrong foot in life. Not on purpose, just saying. So, yes. I'm going to move on now to the next chapter. And here you want to pay attention, maybe chapter 15. Character traits of the star children. I think there are, let me see, there are approximately 21. There's probably more, but these are about 21. And I have to say that there are, over these many years, there are many people investigating this phenomenon of the star children, crystal children, rainbow children, purple children, whatever you want to call them, purple light children. So I have to say that not all star children exhibit the character traits listed below, yet a greater percentage demonstrate an innate connection to the natural world, and they know the importance of their fulfilling the gifts and the abilities that they were born with. And I'm going to say, every one of us, every human being was born with abilities and gifts. The majority of star children will be drawn to healing modalities, and they often find ways to assist others to also fulfill their gifts and abilities given to them. Most star children instinctively know about nature's law regarding cause and effect, which describes the importance of our understanding that what we believe and what we think about, what we focus upon, does manifest within our own experience. So many star children will have learned to use these methods for the good of all, although some may be prevented from using this ancient knowledge, and their gifts remain unknown. At this time of conscious evolution and the age of enlightenment, the star children's message speaks of the importance that we develop spiritually and learn to utilize the art of manifesting to bring about a better world. I guess you could say the art of manifesting is similar to what we could call co-creating, because that's what's going on. We are co-creating every day, unknowingly or knowingly, what we are creating and manifesting. I think it would be better and to our advantage to be aware and awake to what we have as a power and how we are manifesting and what we are creating. We develop spiritually and learn to utilize the art of manifesting to bring about a better world. A majority of star children will use their natural psychic abilities, and some will become spiritual teachers and healers in this lifetime, and also in future time. Star children may know your intentions even before you know them. They see hidden agendas, for instance, and they know when someone is not speaking the truth. They are capable of reading others' energy fields or auras, even their minds. They are often the petty tyrants, purposefully pushing others' buttons in an attempt to wake them up. How many times have you heard somebody say, I wish these people would wake up? Yes. Integrated desire they have to help humanity function as a whole, to change their behavior that are against nature and to become one and to become equal. Well, I'm going to rephrase that and say, to realize that we are one and that we are equal. They are thought provokers, stimulators. They challenge others to think of alternative possibilities, for instance, and other perspectives. In other words, yes, get out of the tunnel and broaden your perspectives. There are so many possibilities. But if you don't believe that there are so many possibilities, you will be stuck, and with your minimal possibilities. They are often they are often spoken of, the star children, as wise, uniquely oriented toward a new set of beliefs regarding the environment and its components as relating and affecting all. They are insightful, and their ability to see through people often is unsettling. Acute mental and emotional sensibility to others' agenda. They have compelling eyes, and they seek your true essence. I did mention the compelling eyes the other day, so some children have these extraordinary color eyes, I guess you'd say, bright, brilliant, blue-green, various colors like that just are so striking. But also it's the eyes itself, because what is happening with the eyes is that, I guess we say like the soul, it's the window to the soul, so that's something seems compelling to people. They are right-brained or right-left balanced brain, let's say, learning through visual stimulation, physical and spatial orientation. And that's why some of these star children, a percentage of them, have a lot of difficulty in the education system, the school, because of the methods that they use for teaching children. They learn a different way, these children, so they're non-conforming. Star children often have difficulty within the standard educational, religious, and political systems. Most are typically right-brained. They absorb and learn better through teaching methods that utilize tactile, visual, creative, and artistic methods. They are unusually sensitive to electricity and electromagnetic fields, and often interfere with radio or television reception and are known to affect the function of computers. Since they have unusually sharp hearing, they are often painfully uncomfortable with large crowds and are adverse to certain types of music. A greater percentage of star children have Rh negative blood type. At about the age of 5, maybe even a little earlier, your child may describe their having an encounter or interaction with elves, or those known by some indigenous people as the little people. Some even speak of holy beings or angels appearing to them, and many at this early age have their first encounter with a UFO or other phenomenon. They are sensitive, compassionate, concerning, protecting, or standing up for those who are bullied, although they themselves often experience being bullied. They often daydream, or at times appear distant or in their own world. Purpose. Their purpose is centered on compassion, tolerance, and what is most favorable to the environment for the plant, animal, and humans, and to positively affect the equilibrium regarding archaic and separatist beliefs. They are also heart-centered, Star children are spiritually conscious, and they have an innate knowledge of the existence of spirit in all of creation, and they do recognize the differences between religion and spirituality. The knowledge that star children convey is not established through conditioning. Why? Because it is innate. Innate within all of us, actually. And that's where the awakening comes in. This knowledge is innate within us. Yet many are so far removed from what was originally given them. Religion and spirituality. It is important to understand the differences regarding religion and spirituality. Organized religion is an establishment, and those we are familiar with are consistent with an established foundation based in accordance to patriarchy perspectives. These are comprised of an organized collection of beliefs and worldviews and are intended to be accepted as fact. Religion constitutes prescribed parameters through Scripture and is intended to explain the origin of life. Religion differs from private beliefs as an inherently social system and consists of organized behavior and that which signifies obedience and, yes, membership. Spirituality is deeply personal and most often is realized through a personal search for the sacred or a mystical experience. Exploration of esoteric or nature-based practices or traditions associated with indigenous or aboriginal cultures, not based on religion, are indicative to spirituality and one's personal beliefs. Spirituality conveys purpose and meaning in life, personal development, transformation, and a sense of well-being, and develops an understanding of oneself as significantly connected to the whole of creation. As I'm going to add, as compared to organized religion, which tells you they have the key, they have all the answers, and they have the way to get you to, God or heaven or, I don't know, take care of the sins, forgive your sins, stuff like that. Let's talk about prophecy, shall we? Recently, the mother of a 4-year-old mentioned that her daughter, upon awakening, announced, "There will be a tsunami." Now, this same little girl, without her mother mentioning to her that she was expecting a baby, also told her mother that she sees a baby in her mommy's tummy. Her daughter has often revealed other signs of her being a star child, and over the years, numerous star children have had tsunami dreams or water dreams that prophesize what is to come. Many years ago, I had a prophetic dream where I saw myself from above. I was standing on an ocean beach. The ocean appeared as an ominous great wall of yellowed, dirty water. Clearly, this was a warning of a tsunami. Yeah, and I remember that dream so vividly. I was looking at watching myself. I guess I was observing myself below, and I was walking on a beach. And as I was walking on the beach, there was this wall of water, a huge, giant wall, like a wave. It was a very short visual dream, but that's what it was. Now, some scientists have warned us that the oceans will rise, and some elders of indigenous nations advise us to leave low-lying lands and move into the mountains. Yes, our elders have been saying for over 20 years, get away from the shores or the lowlands and get to higher places. So, ever since Hurricane Katrina's devastation upon the coastal areas, scientists have noted that the intensity of hurricanes and tornadoes will undoubtedly increase due to global warming, they say. Remember global warming? messing around with Mother Nature. But I do want to emphasize that the elders have told us to get away from the lowlands and the shores, go to the mountains. So something, whether it's manipulated or whether it's going to be natural, they're telling us something's coming, something's going on. Recently, Hurricane Irene devastated the east coast and interior of New York and Long Island, New Jersey, and the Hudson Valley in Vermont. Yeah, I live here in the Hudson Valley, and that Irene was unprecedented what happened. The untold devastation caused by Japan's Fukushima nuclear disaster was, I believe, a warning meant to awaken us to the dangers of nuclear power. There is a need to reflect upon these and other nuclear disasters and to understand that we are violating a sacred commandment, and that due to our arrogance and our disregard of the Earth's resources, that we are being drawn into dangerous territory. As the Great Flood was once prophesied, there are visionaries today that tell us of their receiving prophecies of the end times and of great and devastating fire culminating in humans' demise. Could this warning indicate a major nuclear war or another Fukushima? More than 20 years ago, I received a prophecy that told of coming epidemics as never before experienced, that the medical and scientific world would be greatly challenged to discover effective antidotes to fight these pandemics. We have seen how the AIDS epidemic spread throughout the world, and at this time, scientists are currently searching to find new antidotes to what they believe are increasing threats of pandemics that in the future will devastate millions. Certainly, we are aware that the exploitation of antibiotics is a growing concern, as are other pharmaceuticals and their effect upon our immune system. The widespread use of pesticides is alarming, as are genetically modified seeds. How is it possible to maintain our health and that of our children if we continue to disregard the earth, the source of our water, and continue the clear cutting of forests and other assaults upon these essential resources? Indigenous nations maintain that the earth was created as its own natural pharmacopoeia, and all that humanity would ever need to survive and to remain healthy existed right within our reach. Today, there are more and more people throughout the world realizing that all of creation exists as an infinite and complete system, harmonious and balanced, and that if any part of this system were to be destroyed, a devastating domino effect would commence. We can choose to be in fear. We can believe that we are powerless, or we can choose to be empowered and take responsibility for how we want to live. We can gain important tools that would empower us to seek knowledge of alternative ways of living and maintaining our health. The elders continually advise us of the importance of assembling an apothecary of our natural medicines and to strengthen our immune system, to eat healthy foods grown organically, to renew ourselves spiritually, and to become empowered through that faith. The star beings, the indigenous nations, and the star children warn us that we have reached a crucial point, that we must take responsibility to change these policies that are devastating nature, to stop those who are corrupting the balance needed to sustain all of life. Above all, they advise us to become compassionate caretakers of the earth and its resources. Understanding or understanding the star child. Although you have a great challenge before you, you are blessed if you are a parent or a grandparent of a star child. Now, some may be skeptical of what this book even is disclosing, especially if they have been ruled by society's brainwashing and archaic child-rearing techniques. It is best to have an open mind before coming to any conclusions of its authenticity. These are exciting times we live in, and the presence of the star children brings us hope. Their arrival aligns with ancient prophecy, and this tells us that we should not despair, nor should we think that we have an unruly or out-of-control child in our midst, as the authorities would have us believe. The points listed below can help bring clarity and understanding, and is meant to be a guide for parents, for grandparents, and teachers regarding the star children's behavior and how best to support them. And I think this is going to be across the board for all children. In other words, we should speak truthfully and be honest. Don't lie to your children. And also admit your own mistakes. Trust your child. Let them problem solve, in other words. Ask their opinion. Ask them questions and listen to them. Let them make important decisions too. Give them choices. Offer healthy guidance, suggestions, and personal examples. Set respectful and healthy boundaries. Be flexible whenever possible. Spend time listening to your child. This opens up communication and allow for dialogue to continue. Spend time with your child in nature. This renews and strengthens them spiritually. Use unique and fun methods to help your child achieve what you would like. Picking up toys, for instance. Ask them to decide on what music they would like to listen to while they pick up the playroom. Reassure your child it is all right to be different and not to worry about fitting into the norm. You know about the thing about picking up your toys, for instance, or straightening out your room. It's like, yes, most parents are just, maybe, I don't know, screaming at their kids, pick up your room, pick up those toys, do this, do that. So the suggestion is to, bring out a unique or fun method to help them play some music while they're doing this. It's very different than just ordering your child around. So, it's okay. Reassure your child. It's all right to be different. Do allow them to be different without judging them. So yes, the secret school. I do want to talk about the secret school here. And I remember the first time I heard about the secret school was Whitley Strieber, I guess, spoke about the secret school that he had discovered in his own experiences with other beings and his personal abduction experiences. Well, he called them abductions. In the beginning, he changed from the beginning of his whole experience in his books, he changed his perspective about what was really happening to him. His whole theories changed dramatically. So there is indeed a secret school, and many star children experience this during early childhood. Although guidance continues throughout later years, most children may not recall their early experiences. At first, it is believed that out-of-body journeys and other strange phenomena are nothing more than a dream. Yet, one has a sense of something unexplainable occurring. A majority of star children experience what is termed abduction or a contact experience with an alien presence. To some, these experiences are frightening. There are Indian people who are more accepting of this phenomenon, and for generations, they have considered the star beings and interdimensional beings their relatives. Yes, we call them the Wikchopioyate, our star relatives. They believe that star beings are teachers and guides, and they have visited Earth from the very beginning. It is understood how the sudden appearance of an unknown being or strange apparition might be terrifying to some. There may possibly be other reasons for such fear, as the truth of human origins have been deliberately hidden, as have other important historic facts regarding the existence of visitors to Earth. The visitors most often appear in a most tolerable form, as an angelic or magical being, or as a child's secret friend. Chapter 16. Magic grandmother Louise first introduced me to the little people, a phenomenon found throughout the world. There were many occasions when the little people would take my special things from out of my room, and my grandmother would smile knowingly, telling me that they would soon be returned, which they most often were. Today, the magical forest remains undeveloped and still very wild, and there are hidden valleys surrounded by steep, craggy mountains and stands of thick, giant evergreens and ancient oaks. Covering the valley floor is numerous jack-in-the-pulpit and the brilliant greens of skunk cabbage and many types of mushrooms and feathery ferns. There is a bright, lively stream that meanders through this valley and around many tiny moss-covered islands. Always hoping for an encounter with the little people, I would spend many hours exploring and wandering there. And during one of these times, I was about to step up and over an old fieldstone wall. Now, when one of the stones, burdened by my weight, suddenly began to tip. Now, I would have lost my balance. I would have fallen upon an old rusty barbed wire fence. But guess what happened? To my surprise, I was lifted up and into the air. I was flipped gently head over heels, and I was placed on the other side of the wall. Yes, this happened to me. In that magical moment, I did know that the little people had helped to keep me from harm. Yes, that was a profound experience. I think I was about 12 years old. Another time I spent the night in a remote Mexican village in a small, neat hut completely surrounded by the dark solitude of distant mountains. This was much later in my years. During the night, I was awakened by a haunting melody. Since the village was without electricity and I was alone, there seemed no viable source for this. And I immediately sat up and I placed my bare feet upon the smooth dirt floor and I listened. The mysterious sound continued for a few minutes, and then all was silent. Now, I can only describe what I heard as otherworldly, and as ostensibly celestial, luminous, and deeply soothing. There was another occasion when a similar experience occurred during a gathering of women. As we discussed the little people and the fairies as existing elements of nature all around us, the air suddenly was filled with the same unearthly magical resonance, and I experienced it that night in Mexico. To those gathered, I explained the possibility that the fairies might be the source of this celestial melody, and everyone agreed that we had experienced something otherworldly. Whether it was fairies or not, it was definitely otherworldly. UFOs, spheres, and orbs. Now, I'm going to go into this a little bit, but I know I'm coming close to the top of the hour here. So I'll just, I might return back to this next Tuesday, but I'll start here with UFOs, spheres, and orbs, unless anybody has a question for me out there. Let me see, I have 5 minutes. Let me see what's going on with you guys in the chat. Looks like you're having a big discussion. Okay. All right. Well, let me continue here with a little bit. I was 14 in the summer of 1956 when I witnessed my first UFO. Our cousins were visiting, and that night, along with my older sister, we had planned on sleeping out on the upstairs screen porch. Yeah, I'm happy to be sharing this with you guys out there, because this is my first, my first memory of the first UFO was in 1956, and this is how it happened. At about 10 p.m., we noticed a UFO slowly lifting up out of that hidden valley. That's the same place that I spent a lot of time when I knew and felt the beings and the little people and elementals were there. So we observed it to be round. It was quite large, with a smaller dome on top and colored lights evenly spaced along the lower area. hovered above the trees for a time and then slowly began to move across the sky. We ran downstairs to alert my parents, and we continued to watch this UFO outside as it slowly moved across the sky, and then it disappeared. No one knew then what it was, but I felt sure that it was visitors from the stars. And after this, there were similar phenomenon that I experienced. For instance, iridescent spheres that rapidly moved across the sky, either falling or appearing to make landing. And there were large fireballs even that sometimes flew directly toward me. Yeah, that was a strange experience. They would magically disappear into thin air then. While driving at night, these and other lights and mysterious orbs sometimes filled the skies. I have experienced lost time, which seemed to relate to these sightings. And late one night, I drove right through a mist, and what I thought was a large luminous being. I stopped the car immediately. With a flashlight, I ran back. To see, but there was nothing there. Mysterious events continued throughout my life, and in 1995 I was invited by a native elder to my first Sundance in Pipestone, Minnesota. I had met this elder the year before at Greengrass, South Dakota. I write about this in my book, Mending the Hoop. And I don't know if you guys like my reading here. I might, when I'm done with this book, I might read the other book to you, or one of the other books to you, just saying. But I'm going to stop right here because I have 3 minutes left, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. I'll get back to the UFOs, spheres, and orbs, and this phenomena and unusual, awesome experiences I've had next week, next Tuesday. So, I think Stone Hobbit is going to be coming up after me, so stay tuned for Stone. And she often brings some great stuff. Yes, mind wipes. Highly doubt it is all positive too. Well, I don't know what you mean by mind wipes, so conversation again. I've had numerous out-of-body experiences, and I know other people have as well. But I don't know about the positive. I think there's all kinds of out-of-body experiences, Neo. And for some may be positive, and some for others may not be. Yeah. Oh, thank you, sis. We could talk about it more. Yes. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Gaz, Troy, Huge, Neo, and Rob, Tracy, everybody. Thank you all. It's really nice to have you listening to me. I hope you enjoyed it and piqued your interest about things, and maybe you can share some of your phenomenon or unusual experiences. So thank you, and I will see you next week, if not before, and Dogsha, Pilamaya.